The founder of the French Jewish Peace Union, an initiative advocating for a just peace between Israelis and Palestinians. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Wagman. Welcome to the AAC. A report recently released by Tel Aviv University testified an increase of 30% in anti-Semitic acts committed in France. A rising feeling of insecurity among French Jews has led to stronger immigration to Israel in recent years. How do you see the situation of Jews in France today?
I don't know if the immigration can be attributed to this rising sense of insecurity, or rather just propaganda from the Jewish agency. Some French Jews go to Israel, and a lot of them come back. So how many really stay? We don't have official statistics. But of course, there's a problem of anti-Semitism in France, as there is elsewhere, to the extent there's a problem of racism. The racists don't make any particular distinctions. They hate everybody who is different from them, and the Jews are no exception. But fortunately, there is no major phenomena of anti-Semitism in France today as comparable with former periods of our history. If we talk about the Vichy regime under the Nazi occupation, when the French were deported and exterminated in the death camps, or the Dreyfus affair in the beginning of the 20th century. These were obviously intense anti-Semitic periods. Today, in 2013 in France, I live in a Jewish neighborhood. People walk around with kippas on their head. I walk around with this, my shalom button, no problem. You know what I mean? The Jews are free to be Jews in France today. So it's a marginal phenomenon, but it exists, as it could exist anywhere, of course.
Well, the Jewish Agency for Israel, as well as the Jewish officialdom,
officially recognized bodies which pretend to be representative of the community, they're pro-Israeli, they're Zionist. So they are basically the unofficial spokespeople of Israeli diplomacy in France, and they'll incite their Jewish countrymen to immigrate to Israel, in line with Israeli policy. But they're not necessarily representative of most Jews here. About 15% of the French Jewish community has direct or indirect affiliation to organizations, members of these official bodies, either through the synagogues or through political pro-Zionist Jewish organizations. But approximately 85% of the community are not affiliated to these groups. We belong to the 85% of the French Jewish community that is not a member of the official synagogue network, the bodies pretending to represent the Jews. So all of this is very questionable. When the so-called Jewish spokespeople in France say that the Jews think this or the Jews think that, they don't represent the majority of the community. The French Jewish Peace Union is very much concerned about the struggle against racism and discrimination in France. And being a Jewish organization, obviously we have a certain sensitivity to it. And there are a few of racism in France today is official state racism against the Roma, the Gypsies, who are being rounded up and deported to Bulgaria and Romania, where many of them are originally from these communities. Islamophobia, which is a significant racial problem in France today, a problem of racism. Some discrimination against members of the black community in France, some of whom are originally from the West Indies, French overseas departments, or from Africa, in many cases former in sub-Saharan Africa. Racism against these communities is a significant problem today, much more than anti-Semitism, which is a marginal phenomenon. So we fight all forms of discrimination, and we do so as a Jewish organization, and we're very much involved in the anti-racist movement. This report that we saw from the University of Tel Aviv claiming that there's been a 30% is more than in France represents less than 1% of the population. The Jewish pro-Zionist organizations that gave those figures to Tel Aviv University researchers, they claim that over 50% of all racist violence in France is directed against the Jewish community. We are less than 1% of the population.
Thank you very much for listening. Unfortunately, we faced some problems with the Skype communication. We hope you still enjoyed the talk. This is Leah Fraser from alternativenews.org.